to Press Play, where we talk with high-performing individuals about what they do when they close the laptop and they recharge, unwind, and how they become themselves. So I have the honor with me here today, Susan Jacobs, who's the CEO and founder of Wheels of Success nonprofit. Welcome, Susan. So glad to have you.
So happy to be here with you. Thank you so much for having me.
So I am so excited to talk with you. You are an amazing woman, first of all, and what you've done for so many people just needs to be honored and said. And I can't wait to go into and discuss Wheels of Success. But before we do, I have had the pleasure of getting to know you a little bit more personally. And I have to start with the thing that, well, there are so many things about you that I think are cool, but you have more than 100 plants. Is that
I
true?
do.
So
I
how do you
do.
have this green thumb? Because my mom has a green thumb as well. And
I don't know this seat. I don't know, but I love them. That's one thing. So I think they're like my babies. All right. And I have them both at work and at home. And I only live in a townhouse, so it's not like I have a huge home. And outside, it's just on a porch. But I just haven't met a plant that isn't my friend. So, okay.
wow, is
Well,
there a certain type of plant that is like your favorite? I know they're your babies.
not necessarily even my favorite. It's just where they fit. So I like to design. So it's where they actually fit as well as the plant. Because I look at plants like designer objects as well. So, is it bushy? Is it tall? Is it variegated? What does it have that in that spot? Or does it look great in that pot that you have?
Yes.
That might be the perfect complement to the pot, whereas another plant would look terrible in that pot. So it's just fun for me and it takes stress away. And because I'm not thinking about anything when I'm doing them, I'm just thinking about my plants. That's all. That's
Wow.
hard for me to do.
And is
So
there, like, as far as a tip for how do you keep them alive? Is there a certain soil or, fertilizer
necessarily
that you're using?
soil. One of the things I've learned is over the years is not to overwater. That's usually most people problem is that they overwater. But I actually also bought like a plant water meter,
Oh,
which I
okay.
never had before. It's very helpful because so many plants take different amounts of water. Some can go a whole month, some only a week, some only a day in this heat if they're outside. So that's great for somebody who can't judge that themselves. That's been really, really helpful for the plants that
Okay.
I'm not as familiar with.
That
Ones that
is
I've had
amazing.
years, I kind of know, but the others are that actually helps me.
And I
So.
love that you incorporate this, like it's stress relief, but it's also you incorporate it with design too. Like what do you like to design? It sounds like interior
I do.
spaces.
I love to thrift and take old things and do something new with them. And also, I like the juxtaposition of different textures. And that can be with plants as well. You have shiny ones, you have flat leaf ones, you've got variegated, you've got color. So you can use all that as design. And to me, I mean, true florists, some of the really great florist places, their arrangements are gorgeous because that's what they do. It's not only the flowers, it's their eye. I wish I
Wow.
had their eye sometimes for what they're using. They can take almost nothing and make it look beautiful. And to me,
Wow.
that's an awesome, awesome skill.
And
Yes.
you see
Yes.
that that is like a skill I don't have. And I just think that's amazing. And I mean that's such art that's so artistic.
And that's the artistic part of me. Normally, I can't draw, I can't do anything, but I have a good eye. All right. So that's the artistic part of me but I need somebody else. Like I'm not crafty. I can visualize it, but I need somebody else to do it because it'll
Gotcha.
never get done if you wait for me to do it. Okay. I see all these things like when I'm thrifting and I'm like, this would be so great like this, but who's going to do it?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
for me, who's going to do it? So that's the thing. If you can hook up with somebody that loves the crafty part, that's awesome because you can make things out of almost nothing. That's what I'm amazed sometimes when I watch some of these designers and they take something you would have thrown away and they make something phenomenal out of it. And you're like, I would have never thought of that. It wouldn't have even crossed my mind. So I appreciate their creativity and like to watch that. That's another thing that I often, you can get addicted to Facebook, but that's one of the things about Facebook that I do like, that you can learn who to follow and
Absolutely.
follow their work.
and find those people that they just make such beautiful things. I
Yes,
want to
they
go
do.
thrifting with you. I want to have
Oh,
a thrift
anytime,
date.
anytime. I love that's my true stress relief is staying. Other people go have a drink.
Hmm.
I go through. Okay.
Wow.
So the
What
problem
are
is where do you put everything?
what is a problem?
All right. So that's the challenge.
What are some of the best, like some of the best things that you've ever found while thrifting?
So I thrift both for the house and clothing. So clothing, I found some, beautiful Italian, both leather. I got like a $400 briefcase for $20 and never been used.
Oh my
Okay, it was
gosh.
beautiful. It was beautiful. I don't think they knew what. I didn't get rid of that. I have that. And then I also found some beautiful pashmina Italian scarves for
Wow.
$3, $4.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
amazing. Yeah. If you really watch if you go a lot, you have to go a
Yeah.
lot. It's like anything else because you can hit something and some days there's nothing, but you have to go a lot. And then one of the things I also thrift is so I like to give each of my clients, if I see that if I ask them to get their driver's license out and they're fuddling through their purse, everything's loose and they don't have it.
Mhm.
So I try to find the really thin wallets that only hold a driver's license and maybe a couple of credit cards. So they're really
Wow.
small. I try to pick those up. And then when I
Mhm.
see that, I can hand them one and say,
That
here,
is
put your license in this, put your debit card, and then you have it all the time. You're not going through your purse looking for it. So
that is a huge relief right there. Like I feel that. I feel that totally because so my purse, I've got two little kids, 6 and 8, and sometimes
okay.
my little daughter, she likes to play in my purse. So
Right.
I'm like digging to find my license or whatever it is. And I know how stressful that even that alone is, that when you need that license like right
Yeah, or
then
you
and
think
there.
you left it somewhere and
Oh,
trying to place back, where was I? And then you find it. You don't know that. Yeah, so
definitely.
totally. You don't have to have two little ones to have that. You can just have taken it out. And if you don't put it back right away, don't
Yes.
stick it in your pocket, don't stick it in your thing in your car, put it back right away. So
Yes.
you can do that, you're in good shape.
When you
So
go thrifting, do you have set in your mind like what you're looking for? Like, I really
no,
want to
never.
know.
Never. I
Okay.
very rarely, unless I'm looking for something that somebody asked me, hey, if you see this, let me know. Or I need something. So one thing I do actually go all the time. I buy a lot of our office supplies thrifting.
Wow.
So I didn't used to, but then I started seeing they have like the binders. We use a lot of binders for things.
Yes.
And at the office supply store, they're really expensive. They're $1 at the thrift store on half off
Wow.
day. Okay. So
Wow.
I stock up when I see them and I'll buy those or anything else. Like I bought our additional staplers, hole press, all those kind. I don't care if they're new. It doesn't matter to
Right.
me. It makes no difference. So yeah, so now it's kind of hard for me to go into the office supply store and buy something full price. I have to really, really need it. Otherwise, I'm like, no, I'm waiting to see if I find it at the thrift store
Oh
and
my
go in.
goodness.
And since I like to go often, that helps because sometimes I'll just go run in and look in that department. Do they have
Yes.
anything, like that?
Do you have certain thrift stores? Do you rotate or is there like one that you'll always go to?
There's one I always go to, and there's several others that I rotate. And
Gotcha.
the one I always go to also has a senior day.
Ooh.
Everything's 50% off. So I go
Wow.
to that one pretty much every week on that day. If I don't go anywhere else, I go to that one. The
Love
others,
it.
yeah. So that's really, really good because you can get some. That's how I got the briefcase for $20. But still it would have only been 40 and it was a $400 briefcase. So, because I looked
Wow.
it up, online and whatever, and that it still had the tag. I mean, like had hang tags, not the price, but you knew it was brand new. That's what was like, so amazing. And that's a lot of times you can find things at the thrift store that still have the tags. So not that that matters necessarily,
Right.
but when you know that, at least okay, nobody's used it. If you don't like using other people's things, doesn't bother me to use other people's things. I don't care.
Me
So
neither.
yeah, so if I like it, it's like that's fine. Especially jewelry. What
Mhm.
does it matter if it was worn? It makes no difference. So you can get good
Right.
costume jewelry too. That's another thing. If you look a lot, because a lot of times the people who are pricing at the thrift store, they don't really know the value of a lot of costume jewelry. So, it's not as common. I know this brand, but
Hmm.
on costume jewelry, it might not be because of the brand. It's just because it's unique.
Yeah.
So you'll find things a lot of times if you're in there that, people would, oh, I don't, it doesn't have a brand name, but I don't want it with a brand name. I want it because it's unique.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah. So
And those
that's
are
another thing.
great pieces that you can wear to the office
Right.
or so many ways to style a whole different outfit because of that
Yes,
jewelry.
I'm a big accessory person for that reason. You can take the same dress and with accessories just make it totally different, dressed up, dressed down, and it's the fun of that too. For me, it's the people are like a lot people who don't like to shop and don't like to do that. That's stressful for them. Like, what am I going to
Mhm.
wear? How am I going to put it together? But for me, it's just the opposite. It's fun.
Oh,
It's fun. It's the thrill of the hunt.
I love that.
Thrill of the hunt is what it is. So,
So, another thing about me that I loved about you is I am a big foodie. And when you told me about this ice cream that you have with Bailey's as syrup, we need to talk. So,
okay.
so is
Yeah,
there,
I am definitely the worst probably ice cream in terms of calorie count and fat. Okay. But I figure if I'm going to eat ice cream, it's going to be real ice cream.
that's
It's
right.
not going to be dietetic. It's low fat. No, I don't want that. And then, like with the Baileys, it's really good. I'm not a big drinker at all, but I like Baileys. And
Yeah.
now they make all these different Baileys that they didn't used to do. I don't know. Yeah. So they have, vanilla, cinnamon, cherry vanilla. They have all these different Baileys. Some are only during certain times of the year, but some are all year round. So you can make all these different concoctions with Bailey's and ice cream. That's just so much fun. As a matter of fact, I went somewhere the other night to dinner. Where was I? Oh, I was at Babushka's. I don't know if you've ever been to Babushka's.
I
And
haven't.
so it's Russian restaurant down. They have one in Temple Terrace and one downtown. And I was at the downtown one, and their whipped cream was made with Bailey's.
Wow.
It was
I
Bailey's
would,
whipped cream on your dessert.
oh
And I
my
was like, oh, I
goodness.
hadn't thought about that. So that was a great, and I thought that's kind of great. So yeah, anytime I love to go make sundaes, if a place where you can make your own and they've got whatever, it's really I grew up I grew up in New York when I was really young, okay? And we had Carvel, okay? So soft
Love
ice
carb.
cream. Yeah, and then in New York, the chocolate syrup is Fox U-Bet. So a lot of people otherwise don't know about that. They do sell it here at specialty stores, but it's like a chocolate syrup, but it's a little bit darker and it's a little bit richer.
Wow.
And my family used to do the trucking for them.
Oh.
So we always had Fox U-Bet around. We made our own sodas growing up. We had pumps like at the luncheonette store. And because everybody got seltzer in New York delivered. So yeah, I'm going back
Wow.
lots of years now. Okay. So it's funny,
No
and you have
way.
ice cream to make your own sundaes. So it was fun. Yeah. So I grew up liking that. Always I remember as a child.
What would you say is the ultimate Sunday?
I'm still plain though. I don't like fancy. I am a chocolate, so anything with chocolate. I am
Same
a
here.
chocolate lover. So it has to have some kind of chocolate. I'll eat non-chocolate ice cream if it'll have chocolate syrup, or something, but totally not chocolate. No, I probably would pass on that. So I don't know if I necessarily, but sometimes I'm just happy with a banana split.
Oh,
I love
that's so
bananas.
good.
I like the whatever. I'm happy with that. So that's
That
like
that sounds amazing.
so anyway, so we'll have to go one time. We'll have to find the best ice cream place because I haven't looked that up. So where I love gelato. Gelato's
Ooh,
really good
yes.
like ice cream. Okay. So I go to the place that's on Beach Drive in St.
Okay.
Pete. I forgot the name. And their gelato is awesome and they've got great flavors. So I'll go there and when I'm over in St. Pete and get gelato. So
So
that's really
you've just described the perfect day. So we can go pick out a plant that's very special and maybe different or just
okay.
has character, then do some thrifting and then end it with a nice gelato
That
or
sounds
ice cream.
perfect day for me. And just a little bit cooler because the plant stuff's usually outside, so it's hot.
Totally agree. Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, there's a lot of nice plant places. I mean, I still buy plants at box stores. You can get nice plants at
Okay.
box stores, but a lot of times something really unusual will be at a plant store that really, and they know what their inventory is and they can tell you about it because usually at the box store they can't really do that. So
Gotcha.
there's a couple of neat actual plant stores. Plus, you're actually then supporting a local business, which is
Yeah.
really nice also. That's why I
That's
like going to the gelato place because it's
oh
locally. Yeah, for that
wow.
reason. So yeah. So that sounds like a fun day. I'll take you up on that.
Yes, sounds
Okay.
amazing to me. So one thing that you said was, I think connecting people is your superpower. Tell me about that. What is it like to connect others? How do you do that? I mean, I feel like I know that that brought you to where you are today, which is just an amazing place, and I want to talk about that too.
So for me, when I was talking about connecting people, it's the idea that if you hear somebody needs something or like something and you know somebody else, if you can put that together, then to me that is something that wouldn't have happened otherwise. I've been
Wow.
fortunate in my life that people have done that for me.
Mm,
Okay. Hooked me up with someone who maybe only for a small time was there for a reason or for a
mhm.
much longer time but connected us. And I'm so grateful for that, that somebody would take the time, that extra few minutes to say, hey, I know this person and I think you two should meet. So to me, that's really, I get such pleasure out of doing that. And there's so many people in our community that are great at that.
Yeah.
That's one of the great things about Facebook, I feel like, because I know a lot of people on Facebook that I've never met personally, but I know what they do. And if I hear of someone else, hey, I need that, whether it be a service that you need or
Mhm.
just people who like the same thing and might not know that this is going on where you could meet other people that do that. To me, that's really, and then in terms of in-house for Wheels, it's connecting our clients with other resources,
Yeah.
all right, that they might not know about that I hear because I get all these emails and I get all this not necessarily directly related, but indirectly related. I love doing that for that reason.
And in
Uh,
some ways, even back to thrifting, that's connecting pieces with maybe other pieces
it
or
is.
other purposes, and you're putting that all together. I see so much art and beauty in what you do and how you do it, and I find that hugely fascinating.
Thank you. Like I said, that's my only creative, pretty much. I'm not that creative otherwise, and I'm definitely not sports person. Okay,
Mhm.
terrible at sports. So I have to have something, that I can do that's a good outlet to be
Yeah.
able to do stuff. And to me, that's kind of the fun piece of doing things. Even I'm not really a cook, but I love people who cook that connect people then with food. Okay,
Yes.
I have a good friend Diane that does that, and
Wow.
she'll connect people and over food. I
Oh,
just think that's so awesome to have that ability, and she makes everything, and so it's just neat. That that person made it with you in mind. They knew you liked that specific food, or it's something that everyone will like that's there. And to me, that's a real talent.
that
Than
is.
just going to buy something prepared from the store
Yeah.
and put it out. So it's just really, I find so many people have these talents that you think, wow, when you look at that and it's kind of like, I would have never done that or I would have never thought about that. And then it opens up your world more to all these, you might not do it, but it's out there
Yeah,
is the thing, okay? That it's out
definitely.
there. So that's what's fascinating to me is that you see people that are always doing things but sharing it, okay? So that you can learn too if you might be interested and never hear about it.
And look at those individuals that do things like that as just they're just amazing, really.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so are you. So you created Wheels of Success more than 20 years ago now.
yes.
Tell
We're
me
in our
what,
21st year.
yes. What inspired that?
So I was running a staffing company, and that was the dilemma. We would
Mm,
get people we were working with hospitality workers, CNAs, people at the lower end of the pay scale. And they would say, and remember, this was 21 years ago. The bus was totally different than it is now. And
mhm.
also, there was no Uber. Okay.
Mm,
How did you get from place to place if you didn't have a car and we're so spread out? And this is what I would hear. I would find somebody a job and they would say, well, how am I going to get there? Either
wow.
they didn't have a car and the bus didn't run, or they had a car, but they said, my car's not going to make it. We're a 3 county big area, right? I can't take a job over the bridge, or that's on the other side of town. I need something closer to home. So a lot of times people were stuck working right near their house, maybe for a lot less pay than they could have gotten in another job if they'd had transportation. So that kind of gave me the idea, but it wasn't a unique idea. I don't want to claim credit for that. There were a couple of places at that time in the country doing that. They were in the Northeast and in the Midwest, and but they were much larger. They were state supported. It was a little bit different than trying to do it here initially because there wasn't really government funding for anything like that. And it was just kind of okay. And it things happen for a reason. I truly believe that. I probably would have never started this had I not lost my job. So the company I was working for went out of business. And I thought, I'm finding people jobs. I can find myself a job. But now is the time to maybe do this and find a job that would just support me, but wouldn't be at a managerial level where I wouldn't have time to do this. So that's basically what I did, and started with 2 cars in mine in a friend's garage, donated by a towing company.
Wow.
And so it was just kind of like, okay, am I going to be able to get this up? I knew the need was, so that was the thing. It wasn't like I was trying to do something that other people were already doing, because I find that's a problem in the nonprofit world. A
Yeah.
lot of people starting nonprofits, slightly tweaking what somebody else is doing, but there's to me that's so much waste of administrative expenses
Right.
you have to do that. So there really was nobody doing this in Florida, in our area, or really anywhere in Florida per se. And so that was one of the things, okay? And then I also reached out to a lot of agencies to see what would transpire, because right, we work with most agencies. That's who most of our referrals come from, but also from employers.
Yeah.
So both of those together see the need, but they just don't have a way to address the need.
Right.
So that's kind of how the program got up. But it took me over 4.5 years to really get it up and running. I worked a full-time job while I
Mm.
was starting Wheels for 4.5 years,
Wow.
because I felt like if we took money out for salary, that we wouldn't be able to grow to where we needed to be self-sustaining. And so it took me that long. And they say it takes 5 years, to start a business and to
That's
see if it.
right.
So I kind of used that gauge and looked at it from a business model to say,
Yes.
okay. And then at about 4.5 years, my job kind of said to me, hey, you're gone more than you're here. We need to put you to part-time. And at that point, I was staying on full-time, so I had benefits and whatever. I thought, well, if I'm not going to have benefits anymore, I might as well bite the bullet. And if we don't make it, then it wasn't meant to be.
Mm.
Otherwise, I need to do this. So that's what we did. And luckily, we had a few places that had stepped up in those first few years that gave us credibility, that helped us to get AAA was one, Casper Company, McDonald's, Tampa General Hospital. Working with them gave us credibility to
Wow.
go out. This is what we need for funding. Will you help us? And then, of
Hmm.
course, the stories of the people that we helped.
That's right.
As many success stories. Is everyone a success story? No. You hope they are. You try to do the best. Sometimes the car just doesn't last.
Mhm.
Sometimes they lose their job, even though. So those are things. But from a perspective, about 90% of our folks stay working or in school. And that's the thing. What are your outcomes? What's changing for people by having that car? Because everybody who comes to us needs a car. That's a given. And even apply, you can't self-apply. And then you have to come to a car care class. So whether we're able to help you or not, you can learn how to take care of your car, and maybe keeping a small repair from becoming a major one, that you didn't have to lose your car had
Yeah.
you known this. Because so many people come to us because of that reason.
Wow.
Okay. So if we can address that, then hopefully they're not going to, you can fix your brake pads and don't have to fix your rotors and drums. Big difference in price.
That is
So,
huge.
so that's one of the pieces. But then everybody that comes that we weed out from there, for every 20 people that are at a class, on average, we can only help 4. That's all we have the
Wow.
resources for to do, whether it be
Gotcha.
cars that are donated, or now we're doing a lot more major repairs. So that number is going up a little, because if you have a car that maybe your mechanic said wasn't worth fixing, because dollar wise, you're putting 4,000 in, the car's only worth 5, but you can't buy a car for 5 anymore. So if
Right.
you put the 4,000 in and now it's going to last you because you've fixed a lot of stuff, then for us, that's worth it. Economically, if you were selling it, not so much.
Right.
Okay. But we're not looking at that. We're looking at will this car last you hopefully for another year if we do this, and then you can have a car for a year. And then also wanted to state that it's not a free program. You
Okay.
do pay something towards the car and towards the repair because we believe it's not an entitlement. It's a
Mhm.
hand up, not a handout. And
Love it.
you should have skin in the game. It's your
Mhm.
car. If you don't take care of it because somebody else is paying for everything, then you're going to keep not taking care of it. So we need to know that this car has value to you, even your own car. That's why
Mhm.
you're paying for part of the repair. So you know next time I'm going to call sooner. I'm not going to wait till the brakes are squealing
That's
till I
right.
bring it in. I'm going to keep my car checked. So again, I can just replace brake pads, not break rotors and drums. So that's kind of how we feel. And we basically have two programs. One is for basic wheels of success, and one you can graduate to or come into, which is we call our ABC program, where we actually sell cars at market value, but never any dealer fees, no interest on your loan. The loans are interest free.
Wow.
Oh, and that has a different qualifying than our other program. But we built that program because so many people either A came to us because, for instance, they'd had an accident, even from our car, they have full coverage, but they need another car. So
Yep.
are they going to go back to the buy here, pay here with the 21% interest? Because they don't have enough except to put a down payment from
Right.
what they got from the car. So they
Ugh.
can come through our program, put the down payment, do the loan with us at interest free at reasonable payments that
Mhm.
they're not going to have the car repoed. Because that's
Yep.
another reason a lot of people come to us is they get into cars with payments they can't afford. You know,
Yeah.
they're talked into it, they're desperate for a car,
Yep.
but they're paying $400 to $600 payment.
It's
That's
terrible.
crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they don't realize a
Plus
lot of,
insurance, but they don't realize because they need a car and they're desperate.
yes. And I think
Okay.
a lot of predatory lenders,
There is.
they make it
That's sad.
sound approachable and then they find out
Yes.
later what the
True, true.
interest rate
Yep.
is. And yeah, it's
Yeah.
terrible.
It really is. It really is. And it's sad because it's the people who can least afford it.
It is.
Okay. And
Ugh.
then also, or they get sold a car that's a piece of junk. All
Hmm.
right. So then they have no warranty because there's no, in Florida, it's as is
Mm.
basically. There's, you know, some states have a certain return policy, but not in Florida. So the car's as is if you're buying from a seller that's how some places you can get a warranty. I'm not saying you can't,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
an average buy here, pay here is as is.
Mm.
So then once you drive off the lot, you have no recourse.
So like 4 days later, when
Yeah,
the
exactly.
engine stops working or
Right,
whatever,
correct, correct.
you're
And there's
now,
so many
yeah.
things that you can do if you're not ethical to make that happen. You can know that the engine's bad and put an additive in it, and it's going to run for a few days, but then the problem's going to show up
Oh
again.
my
There's a
God.
lot of things like that, unfortunately, that you can do that the buyer won't be aware. And especially if they don't take it to a mechanic to have it checked out.
Hmm.
And then, first of all, you need a couple $100 for to do
Yeah.
that, and they don't have money. Nor, or if you're buying it as is, they don't let you take the car. So
Right.
that's the other thing, you know, is the problem. So
Wow.
it's just really sad. One of the things we're looking at is working on legislation that might change this. So at least you had a 72-hour be able to, so you could take it to a mechanic and to look at the car and at least say, no, I know there's major problems. I'm not taking this car. And some are just because certain cars always have major problems. They have that
Mhm.
same problem. So you want
Yes.
to check it out for that problem. And so before you even buy it, because you know historically they tend to have that problem. So you
Wow.
want to check on that. So there's so much information. And when you're desperate and your car's broken down or you've
Right.
had an accident, you just go buy a car.
And you're not even, you're probably in like survival mode, like
You are. Exactly.
flight and oh my gosh, and
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
fight.
So I'm going to
And so you're
lose my
not thinking.
job. You
Yes.
know, that then if I don't get to work, I've already been warned, you know, because my car had been breaking down, you
Mhm.
know, if they hadn't already bought one and now I bought one and so I'm going to lose my job.
Yep.
Okay. So, and sometimes even our cars, have issues, even though we check them out from top to bottom. But if we get a car that's donated and it's been sitting for a year, till
Mm,
you drive that car, every problem's not going to come up. It needs
gotcha.
to be driven. That's why we give a 90-day warranty with our cars,
Wow.
so that you can at least, we know that problems might arise. And even then it's upsetting because we still know that person needs to get to work. And if they have to
Mm,
leave the car with us to be fixed, they're back in the same position. So what we try to do now, especially for any major problems, is one of us tries to test drive the car for at least a week after it's been fixed,
gotcha.
so that we've kind of taken it on the highway. We've driven it in the morning when it's cold. We've driven it at another time when it's hot, so
Hmm.
that we can kind of see any problems that might arise, rather than, even though we're going to fix them, if you have that problem, you won't have to be without a car. So that's what we started doing. And sometimes even that, I drove a car for 3 weeks, no problems whatsoever, gave it to the person, and within a month they had a problem. Not a
Oh,
major problem. We were able to fix it. It
yeah.
wasn't a major problem, but you just don't know. They're used cars.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. They're used cars. No matter where you buy them, they're a used car. It's not like getting a piece of clothing or food. You
Mhm.
have ongoing things
Yep.
with the car. So
Maintenance, that
yeah,
maintenance and
just
things that,
maintenance, and then taking care of it yourself.
yes.
A lot of people, and I was one of these people, so I know, okay, they know how to start the car and that's it.
Now you know
So
quite a lot.
we try to show them in the class, but even then, in your own car and knowing, oh, that's where that light is. That's where some
Yep.
of them. One time I went to get gas in a car I was test driving, and for the life of me, I could not find the gas button to open
Oh,
I literally, like, it was under the
what?
carpet.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh. That's
because somebody had put
crazy.
a different mat in, and the
Yeah.
mat covered the button, but I had
Oh,
never thought to look there. So thank goodness there's Google, right? So
yes.
I went and looked up, okay, in this model, where is this button?
Oh my
So whatever.
goodness.
So it can happen, okay, but you don't want it to happen like when you're driving and you can't find the right lights,
That's right.
right?
That's
So you
right.
want to know where everything is. So that's one of the things we do when we give out a car. We do a checklist with the person and take them for a test drive,
My
showing them
goodness.
where everything is that they need to know. Now, will they remember it all? Not necessarily. They're all excited. They're getting a car,
Yes.
but at least it's, okay, I have an idea where she showed me,
Hmm.
where he showed me that's there.
Oh, definitely. How many people a year are you currently able to help?
We do about 100 families a year
Wow.
between cars and car repairs, help with insurance, help with tag. So on an overall, we do between 75 and 100. On a good year, we'll do 100. On a year where there's not as much funding, we'll do about 75. And about 50 of those are cars. And the rest are what we call car related services that
Wow.
will do. So, and it's just like I said, the cars we know because donations are going down, plus the whole car market.
Mhm.
Everybody wants the used cars because of especially now with tariffs. It's really
Yes.
going to be like that. So, and prices are going to go up. So the price of used cars is going to go up as well. So that's going to be, we're looking at that. How do we deal with that? Because your funding only goes so far. You do a budget a year in advance, right? So now, okay, how do I do this and stay within our budget unless we get additional funding?
Yeah.
So, for instance, for the hurricanes, we were lucky because several of the funders put out critical needs funding
Oh,
specific
wow.
to the hurricane.
Yeah.
So we were able to get some additional people into cars because of that. That was
And
great.
I think about this I'm a mom and I can't even imagine what it's like to look at your kids and you're like, I know I need to feed them. They need what they need. I can't possibly, could lose a job because my car keeps breaking down. I mean, it must be so much stress on them.
Right. And basically what we realized, because so two things to that question is, it is a lot of mental health issue that people don't realize. And
Mm,
we've been starting to write about that a little more. Okay, when
wow.
we're putting it out there, the stress that this causes, even if you have a way on the bus, but it's taking you 2 hours each way, what
Hmm.
kind of quality time do you have for your family by the time you get home? Okay, or picking your kid up late from daycare and they charge you so much per minute.
Ugh.
Okay. So, and you know that and you're stressed.
Yep.
Okay. But also the stress of, so we do an exit survey at the end of the year when the people get their title. And one of the things that we learned when we started doing this, where there were tangible things they talked about and intangibles. And yours are the intangibles, what you just brought up. The tangibles
Yeah.
are keeping my job, getting a promotion, getting a raise, going back to school. Those are the tangibles. And those we want to see because that's what we hope will happen for people. But
Yeah.
the intangibles are, can my kids participate in school activities because I
Oh.
can take them? Okay. Can I go back to school? So that
Mm.
goes either way
Yep.
while I'm working full time. All right. Because the bus isn't going to, even if I have a bus, that's not going to happen. But also the intangibles are, can I participate in my faith-based activities? Because now I have a way to go. We had somebody tell us, I have 4 kids. We've never been to the beach. How would you take the bus and go to the beach with 4 children? Be pretty daunting, right?
Yes.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm sure there's parents who have done it, but for me, that would be pretty daunting. We
Absolutely.
had somebody tell us about going through the drive-through in their own car,
Mm.
ordering themselves, okay, not having to
Oh,
have to go with a friend. So those are things that make you feel less as a not a part of your community or feeling less.
yeah.
And now we had somebody, perfect example. They were crossing US 19 to go to the laundry to do their
Mm.
clothes, taking their laundry, and people would honk at them. It was so embarrassing, they said. They had their kids with them and they just felt terrible. Who even thinks about that, right? You don't think about that till somebody tells you that. So it's kind of like, wow, that's one thing that even surprised me because I hadn't thought about it. And we thought about other things, but that's something we hadn't thought about. So wherever you're doing that and you feel less, I grew up, like I said, in New York when I was young. So everybody takes the bus. It's not a stigma to take the
Mm-hmm.
bus there. We never had a car. My mom was a single handicapped mom. We never had a car, but I still could get everywhere. We took our laundry, we did whatever. But here, everything's so spread out,
It
and the
is.
bus runs maybe once an hour when we started. In New York, it runs every 3 minutes.
Yep.
You miss a bus, you take the next one. Here, you miss a bus, or it breaks down,
Oh,
which
yeah.
often happens, and now you have to wait for the next bus, and now you're late to work.
And that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. And your employer doesn't care.
Mhm.
Initially, they might be really nice, but they have a business to run.
Yep.
Okay. They can't constantly accommodate your being late.
Mhm.
You understand both sides.
Yep.
It's hard or you have a new job, and in the first 90 days, a lot of new jobs, you can't miss any work. There are no
Mhm.
reasons. You're automatically let go.
Yeah. You're on a probation period
Yes,
and
exactly. And so what happens it's just, I can't imagine the stress for single moms now. Like I said, I was raised by a single mom, but it definitely was a lot different back then than it is now to
wow.
kind of deal with a lot of the things, with your kids, with being on the internet, and they see what everybody else has.
That's
When
right.
they don't have it, they feel stigmatized, so it's just, so people always ask, like, what do I drive? Okay, and I tell them whatever Wheels has available, I'm test driving. Basically, I don't
Oh,
even really have, I have a car, but I barely use it, because what I realized is the car is not, to so many people, the car is their identity.
correct.
And this has become, changed my outlook so much that it doesn't, as long as, to me, it has air conditioning and it gets me from point A to point B, I'm fine. Okay. So I
Wow.
get it. And I love people who have fancy cars and whatever. Don't get me wrong. I
Yeah,
think it's
sure.
very cool.
Yeah.
But I am not a car buff. Most people think, well, you're running a car charity, you must be a car person. I am not at all. Okay. I appreciate them. And I appreciate people who like speed and the beauty. And I appreciate the beauty of the cars. I do appreciate, but otherwise, just put me in something that runs and has air, and I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm there.
You're
So
like striking my heart so like I'm just like, oh my gosh, I almost like teared up too, just even thinking about crossing a very busy
yeah,
highway with little
yes,
ducklings, your kids and they're following
yes,
and all that and
yeah.
you're carrying this laundry, everything, just what it's like. Yeah, you're definitely creating pathways for people to have a
And that's
different
what you have
life.
to do, is create that picture, because somebody who's never been in that situation,
Mhm.
it's hard to visualize. You get it in your
Yes.
head, but
Yeah.
you don't get it necessarily in your heart,
Oh,
because it's not like, oh, I have puppies to give away, that need
Right.
homes. Okay.
Yeah.
It's like something, if you've never been there, it's really hard to know what it's like carrying groceries and walking.
And
Okay.
walking, especially in the
Or,
heat or in the
yeah,
rain or
rain, exactly. Living in a food desert and the only places you can buy food is way expensive or at convenience stores because you have to, so when I grew up, again, we didn't have a car, but we had, for lack of a better term, places like bodegas, but they were
Mhm.
real, almost like a little mini fresh market where you
Yes.
could buy a rotisserie chicken, you could buy produce. There were produce stands and you could walk to them. It wasn't
Mhm.
also spread out. So the only time we went to the grocery store was once a month to buy canned goods,
Yeah.
staples. And then we had a friend that had a car that
Mm.
took us. Okay.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah.
we're able to go. So, but otherwise, we had our little cart, our wagon, and we walked with our groceries and walked home. And it wasn't odd, is what I'm
Yeah.
saying. You
Yeah.
saw people in New York all the time going to the butcher, to the produce stand, to the whatever it was with their cart and walking home. So you didn't feel strange at all. But imagine that here.
Or be
Sidewalks have to even
right.
walk. So
Right.
that's one of the big problems that we don't have sidewalks.
Yeah.
Even if you want to do that, you're
It's
almost not
dangerous
able
to,
to.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So you're not going to want to do that. It's just amazing if you're not in that situation because it's so easy for us. We just jump in our cars to go
You
even
want
two
something?
blocks.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
raining. We're not going to walk, right? And we just jump in our car. But for the person without a car, they can't do that.
Wow. Susan, how can people help Wheels of Success?
So actually in several ways. First of all, we always need car donations. So we'll take a car running or not, even if
Mhm.
your mechanic said it wasn't fixing, we probably get out 80% of the cars that are donated to us. Our
Wow.
goal is not to sell them at auction. If we're selling them through our other program where it's
Mhm.
still helping a family because I neglected to mention in the other program, you can't be somebody off the street buying a car. You still
Mhm.
have to meet our guidelines to
Yeah.
be able to purchase from us. So it's not like, oh, I have somebody I can send you that one. No, we don't, that's not what we're looking for. So we always would take car donations and then of course monetary donations,
Mhm.
anybody we would take, but we a lot of times can use volunteers for different things. It's a little bit different than a big charity.
Yep.
Obviously, it's not like Habitat for Humanity. You can't help us fix your car. Okay,
Yeah.
you're not a
Yeah.
certified mechanic and you can't do that. But you can help us do other things. So we have volunteers that help do our lawn work, our lot, our filing, our cleaning. Somebody, a
Yep.
cleaning service who might want to help us to do our cleaning. So our clients who go through our program actually have to do 3 hours a month back to the organization. That's
That's
their pay
great.
it forward. So that's how a lot of that work is done. But it'd be great if a cleaning service wanted to come in and do some heavy cleaning once a quarter for us,
Yeah.
or a lawn service to once every so often really do all the edging and the things.
Yeah.
We're doing it, but that kind of stuff. So we would love. We've been fortunate and have had some corporate entities that have had their team come and do painting for us
Oh
and
my
have done
goodness.
a lawn work. So even though we rent our place, we have to do all that. It's not done by the landlord. So that's great when somebody's willing to do that. So right now we have a great young man that's volunteering for us that I always say when you want something done, ask a busy person. Although we didn't ask him, he came to us. And
Oh,
at first he was doing his volunteer work for his project at school at university. And
wow.
then he liked what he was doing so much. Hey, he said, I'd like to stay on. And he comes doing social media with us, helping us, Adam. And he comes once a week for 3 hours and helps us with our social media. This is a kid that's in school full time to become a doctor in pre med and also has a full time job as an EMT.
Oh my gosh.
And he still volunteers three
Adam,
hours a week
he's
because he
amazing.
wants to do it. He is amazing. And I always say when they find the time to do something. So, when he can't, if he's got a test or something, we tell him, don't worry. But he's been doing that now all summer and
Oh
now
my
stayed
gosh.
with us. Yeah. So it's been great because he's actually done a lot of stuff that we would have had to hire somebody to help us
Yeah.
with. We had to do ourselves in house. So that's been wonderful. So that's just a perfect example. We had somebody else come volunteer, actually started doing a school project, doing data analytics for us.
Mm.
That's what they're good at from school. They took a project and completed it for us.
Wow.
So we always have projects like that because we have so much data to compile
Hmm.
that, it takes so much time. So if we have somebody that wants to come in and help with that, we value that. That's something that either it's very time consuming or we sometimes don't even have the capability
Right.
to do, or we have to get all the data in. We have it, but it has to get in to do that. So,
Well,
yeah.
tell me a little bit about Road Trip 25. I can't wait to hear about it.
So that is our annual event. That's what we call our culinary road trip because we go along the way to different cities and have food from those cities, but with a twist. So the venue and the food vendor that we use does it on a twist. So things are really unusual that you're getting, not too way out there, but just different take on things. And the big focus of the event, of course, it's a fundraiser, but we also present 3 cars at the event. So you can really see a car presented. We actually have one recipient that actually speaks.
Wow.
And again, so many people don't understand what it means to get a car.
Yeah.
Okay. What's going to change in your life. And when you can see that person and the the sponsor that actually provided the funding for that car to repair it or for the car itself actually gets to hand the keys
Oh
to
my
that
goodness.
recipient. So you can really, it's really palpable in the room for
Hmm.
that portion. And then it's also fun because we have fun, bid from the heart, raising money, different fun things that are auctioneer. And of course, we have a live and silent auction as well. So last year, we just from the bid from that little portion, we raised enough to do 13 cars, raised a lot more than that to do others, but that was specific to cars. People each donated it averages about $3,000 for us to get a car back on the road, 3,000 to 3,500 now. And so people would bid to sponsor a car. You could do it individually, which some people did. Some people formed a group at their table
Wow.
and got to sponsor. And then we did 6 of those at our actual 12 Cars of Christmas, which comes not too long after our road trip event, where we actually do 12 cars leading up to Christmas every day. So those are our 2 big events right back to back. We used to do our event in September, and
Mhm.
then with the last year with the hurricanes,
Mm.
it got our event was the day before Helene, so that got postponed. And then it was right at Milton, so that got postponed. So we moved last year to November. It worked well, and we thought, we don't know what's going to keep happening with these
Right.
hurricanes. We're just going to stay in November.
Yeah.
So that's our event is November 18th, which is a Tuesday night at Armature Works. And we're always looking for auction sponsors as well. So if you have a business where you'd like to be highlighted in front of several hundred people,
Mhm.
that's a great way to do that. And if you have a car to donate, again,
Love
that's
this.
what we love. You can donate right through the website for the car donations if you like. If you don't want to call up or whatever, you'll get your tax receipt at the end of the year. We give pretty much the best tax write off because we don't sell the car, so you can donate the fair market value,
Mm.
which if you're auctioning the car off, you're not getting top dollar for it. So that's a plus for people who are looking for a good tax write off as well.
Amazing.
So
Wow.
yeah, so that's
Well,
really good.
Susan, you are an incredible human being, so fun and creative and giving back to others through this. I mean, you really have created this whole program to help others in deeply personal ways. So I just want to thank you for everything you're doing and the kind
Thank
of
you. It's
human you
it's
are.
changed my life as well. It's given as much to me as
Mm.
I've given because it gave me, I did this in the second half of my life basically. It gave me a purpose
Oh,
and just to see that, anybody can make a difference
yep.
if they have an idea, to do that. It doesn't have to be their own thing. Like we said, you can join with another nonprofit and make a difference with a great idea. So
Mhm.
that to me just says it doesn't matter how old you can always do something.
Wow.
So thanks. And I'm taking you up on that ice cream.
Let's do it.
Ice cream and
Definitely.
thrifting, right?
Okay, I love that
Okay.
idea. Thank you so much,
Thanks
Susan.
so much.